Hi all! Everything in my video is pulled from the public domain, and I am using them under the Fair Use, Fair Dealings guidelines. Everything I say is my own opinion. You should look into this information for yourselves, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody had a fabulous Sunday. It is Monday. We have so much to cover. You know I don't like to do super long videos. This may get a little long, so hang on, let's go. We're going to start off with Prince William because ahead of what would have been Diana's 62nd birthday, William is launching projects in numerous locations all over the UK. It's his first major policy intervention since becoming the Prince of Wales to help with homelessness. We know that this was a big thing for Princess Diana, and he's trying to carry on in her name. I think that's wonderful. All right, moving on. Next up, we're going to go to King Charles because it was his first Armed Forces Day as the Commander-in-Chief, and he praised the military past and present. He sent out a message that talks about the immense and dedicated contribution of the military both home and overseas. Very nice. So with it being Armed Forces Day, the Duke of Edinburgh also put out a very nice post along with pictures where he praised the military. Now, this takes place every June to mark the service of all military personnel with special events. Very nice. Way to go. Now, the Duke of Gloucester actually attended an event in Falmouth, which I believe is the way you pronounce that. He'd already been to Ascot, kind of like Edward. We're going to cover something else. You know, the last day Edward wasn't there because he was off doing something else as well, because there's still so much going on. I've told you before, I love seeing him out and about. All right, moving on. Now, before we go on to Ascot, I needed to bring this up. Everybody was talking about Princess Anne's outfit. You know, she's 72. So she wears this blue dress, and the first time she wore it was 45 years ago in 1978. Can you imagine? All she did was put a jacket over it. What amazes me is it still fits her. Wow. And Lexi Bear 55 also spotted it. Way to go. We're going to move on to Ascot now. Now, this is day 4 of Ascot. And in the first carriage, you had King Charles, Queen Camilla, and the Duke and Duchess of Devonshire. Moving on to carriage number 2, we have Catherine, the Princess of Wales, William, the Prince of Wales, Princess Beatrice, and her husband, Edoardo Mapelli Mazzi. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Now, this is their first appearance since becoming the Prince and Princess of Wales. We know they've been there numerous times before, but, you know. So, they got there in the carriage. They were riding with Beatrice and her husband. I know you guys want me to call her Beatrice. Beatrice is just, you know, what I say. Whatever. Anyway, I thought her outfit looked absolutely gorgeous. And I have to tell you that while the king and queen got cheers when they went by, they get cheers every time, the roar from the crowd when William and Catherine came out was unbelievable. They truly are. I think people love the king, but I think they really, really, really love William and Catherine, and I think they've taken to them very well. And of course, I mean, what's not to love, you know? All right. Okay, so their carriage went on, and then the third carriage came out, and in that carriage was Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh. Edward was not with her. You'll hear why in just a little bit. And Prince Michael of Kent, who is the cousin of Queen Elizabeth, and his wife, Princess Michael of Kent. Sophie was looking absolutely gorgeous in pink, and I think everybody looked lovely. Now, interestingly enough, also present that day was Flora Vestenberg. She's the granddaughter of Princess Alexandra and her husband, Timothy Vestberg, and she was also there on day 4. All right, rounding up the last carriage in a surprise move, actor Dame Judi Dench was with her partner, David Mills, and the former U.S. ambassador to the U.K., William Farish. Now, Mr. Farish was apparently a very close friend to Queen Elizabeth. They both had, you know, their love of horses. All right, so when the carriages get to the end, everybody gets out, and this is when they're milling about, talking, communicating, giving the hugs and kisses all the way around. You guys know how that works. And it's after this period of time that they eventually make their way up to the royal box where they'll actually be as the races are going on. Now, I have to tell you, Catherine just looked so elegant. She always looks wonderful. And this next picture, look at that. Amazing. Yep. She looks fabulous. A big thank you to Remoulade Sauce for the information on what she was wearing, what was a rewear, what wasn't. Now, Princess Beatrice also looked absolutely gorgeous. I loved this floral dress. It's 2,700 pounds. And again, a big thank you to Remoulade Sauce for the information on what she was wearing. And somebody else put something up too, but I'm not exactly sure where that came from. But yep, there you go. All right. So everybody gets done talking and they work their way up to the box, making sure, of course, not to be hit by horses as you're crossing. All right, remember I told you that they had that exhibition for the Queen? Well, finally, Charles and Camilla made their way over to look at the exhibition. I think, yeah, very nice. Okay, so they get up into the royal box. Catherine spoke with Judi Dench. Charles was talking with some of the other people. I'll tell you who was having a lot of fun on this, and that was Catherine. She was just, yeah, she was talking and enjoying herself, and you could just tell that this was just a good day for her. Yeah. Now, watching the race was Beatrice and her husband. Obviously, this must have been one heck of a race. She's chewing on her finger, then she's clapping, then she's looking all stressed. I mean, I showed you the other day the faces of the king and the queen. Look at this. He's like, oh my God, no, we bet on that horse. These next pictures just got me. Apparently, Sophie put a bet on a horse. She won. So she's fist pumping in the air. She's yelling, oh my God, I won. She rips the ticket out of her purse. She waves it for Catherine. Catherine starts making faces at her. It's hilarious. But yet I love to see the way they're interacting. I mean, it's just too funny. I have to tell you, it's so obvious that these two are such good friends. And we know the recent PR being put out was that Catherine had a problem with Sophie. I don't believe that for a second. Catherine was having an issue with the Queen. I don't believe that for a second either. Now that Megzy is cut off, they're going to try to fabricate something else. Anyway, there's some information on Sophie's outfit. Love it. Thank you to Remoulade Sauce. So, Catherine made a point. There she is talking to the Duchess of Devonshire. She made a point of walking around and talking to everybody and just having a good time. Good for her. Several people commented that they were happy to see Lady Hussey in the royal box. And the comments are that most of you believe that she was never on the outs with the royals. And I agree. I think they kept it quiet. They kept in the background. But I don't think she was ever pushed off by the royals. I really don't. Anyway, as you can see, everybody was watching the races from the royal box. Everybody was having a absolutely fabulous time. And why not? Now, Duchess Sophie presented the trophy to the winner of the Duke of Edinburgh Stakes. I'd love to see her doing her Duchess duties. I love her. All right, moving on. I love this picture of the jockey bowing to Prince William. Anyway, Prince William and Princess Catherine gave out the prize for the Commonwealth Cup, which was the second race of the day. The trophy went to jockey Oisin Murphy, I hope I say that right, and the horse's name was Shaquille, and apparently the favorite was a horse named Little Big Bear, but it won. There you go. Now, it wouldn't be a video if I didn't point out that Rob Dixon, who is Prince William's right-hand man, was seen chatting with Johnny, which is King Charles' right-hand man. They're both hunky. I mean, oh man. Now, the reason you didn't see the Duke of Edinburgh is because Prince Edward went to the Cinch Championship wheelchair tennis at the Queen's Club. That's why he wasn't at Ascot that particular day. All right, now we're on to day 5, and Charles and Camilla were in the first carriage, and they invite. So joining them in the very first carriage is the Earl and Countess of Caledon. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I loved Camilla's hat, her style. She really seems to have upped her style since she's been made queen. Don't you guys think so? Because I do. I think she looks lovely. Once again, as the carriage came out, there were big roars from the crowd, and everybody took off their hat. Look at them waving. Woo, Charles. Now, carriage number 2 had Lord and Lady Frederick with Lady Weatherby and Princess Khan. Now, she is the daughter of the spiritual leader of the world's approximately 15 million Muslims. Now, in another carriage, you had star Sophie Winkleman. She's in a show called The Peep Show. She was with Lady Gabriella Kingston, who is the daughter of Prince and Princess Michael of Kent, with her husband, Thomas Kingston, in the third carriage. And finally, bringing up the fourth carriage was Mr. and Mrs. Dettori, the jockey, along with Mr. and Mrs. Snowden. He's a trainer, a jockey trainer, a horse trainer. You know, this guy's retiring, so his 9-day suspension is kind of a joke, in my opinion. Yeah. Anyway, here we go. It's day 5. Everybody gets out of their carriages just like the other day. They mill about, they talk, you know, and then they head up to the royal box just like they did on the other 4 days. Now, Lady Gabriella and Thomas Kingston were seen up in the royal box with Charles and Camilla, and apparently these pictures were taken by a photographer named Chris Jackson. I'd say he's pretty good. I love that blue hat also. All right, now the Duke of Gloucester was not there today because he was with the Warwickshire Police, and he officially opened a new state-of-the-art operations and communications center in Warwick. I just love this man. Well, looks like Ascot was a big hit this year. All right, let's move on now to Harry and Meghan. To start off with, come to find out that Meghan wrote a letter to Taylor Swift asking her to be on Archetypes. And Taylor responded through her rep and said, no, they're not going to do it. Now, it looks like it was axed. The whole thing was axed, they're saying, because Spotify was underwhelmed by their lack of strong ideas and their lack of productivity. I think Taylor Swift managed to swerve a bomb in the road, or maybe she's like Michelle Obama and was able to spot a grifter from a freaking mile away. That's what I think. Moving on. Next up, there was another poll in the UK. 7 out of 10 Brits don't like her, and her favorability rating now is -47. It's like bottom of the barrel. You know what's really funny though? People in the United States like Andrew more than they like her. What does that tell you? Moving on. All right, moving on. The articles are coming out. People in the United States are no longer minding their P's and Q's, right? Ever since they had that quote-unquote card chase, we know they were called whiny B-word. We know that Sharon Osbourne's daughter called him an effing twat. We know somebody else who compared him to Armie Hammer. We know that the head of Spotify, or one of the execs, called them grifters. But let me tell you, there's some other high-profile people calling them and voicing their opinions about Harry and Meghan. You got Judge Judy that said she would be furious to think that a child or grandchild was a selfish, spoiled, ungrateful one. She said, that's what I would feel, and I'd be really hurt. She continued on, I think anybody with a brain would see it as disingenuous. It's biting the hand that fed you, and it's unseemly. CNN Don's Lemon said, you know, everybody has a family and there's arguments, but you don't put them out there for the world to see. He said, I just don't understand why on earth he did that. Yeah, I know he's selling a book, but it's just not done. What do you achieve? What are you achieving by airing dirty laundry? Yep. And Bethany Frankel, you know how much I love her. She said, it's like giving babies who want attention every time they cry. She said, so I might prefer the Ferber method for these two. She goes, I've never known about or cared more about the royals. These two have done billions in free good PR for them. That was a massive backfire. Yep. Now, there were a lot of other stars in that article, but it's just too many for me to put in this video. You should read that article. All right, next up, in case you didn't know this, Harry and Meghan have been dubbed scroungers who are constantly looking for freebies. Well, we already know this too. We know as soon as she married in, she put out information to everybody that she's willing to take freebies. And it was the royal family who said, we don't do that. We have to pay for our things. Tom Bauer told an interesting story. Harry and Meghan were invited to a place on the beach, and they stayed there a couple days, and they went there by private jet, the host private jet, and they met a woman while they were there. And the next day, Harry called this woman and said, we'd like to borrow your house. Meghan wonders whether we could have it. And then the next day, Harry called up and said, Meghan wants to know if we could use your private plane to get there. You know, that's what the grift is about. Everywhere they go, free houses, free jets, free everything. All right, you guys, these stories came out. I was just like, what? Apparently, I told you Harry was supposed to be doing a podcast. Well, come to find out, he pitched a podcast. He was apparently the biggest fan of his own idea. He wanted to do a podcast where he would speak with Vladimir Putin, Mark Zuckerberg, Donald Trump, about how their early lives, experiences shaped their adulthoods. In other words, he's a one-trick pony. He also apparently wanted to talk to the Pope. So here's some of the interesting thing. First of all, the fact that this man thinks that anybody would give Harry the time of day, like Vladimir Putin, who's in the middle of a war, is going to stop to talk to Harry about his childhood trauma, number one. Number two, what makes him think that some of these people had childhood trauma? Did Zuckerberg have childhood trauma? Did the Pope have childhood trauma? Like, are you kidding? My head spun when I heard this, because he thinks he's on par with these people. He thinks he has the international, wherewithal to get in touch with these people. Trump loved the Queen. Okay, so of course, there was some discussion on GB News about this. Oh my God, listen to this.
The mad, mad world of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. This will crack you up. Harry has been accused of wanting to interview Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin about their childhood trauma as part of the Spotify deal that was binned a few days ago. I'm joined now by royal commentator Michael Cole. Michael, thank you very, very much. Can this really be true?
Well, this is probably what happens to you if you live in La La Land, the realm of make-believe. I mean, Vladimir Putin is so secretive about his origins. His alleged mother has just died at the age of 96. He never acknowledged her. It does seem that she was his mother, but he was brought up by foster parents, and he will never talk about that. With regard to Donald Trump, another one of the targets, well, he's very pro the royal family. He's also a monarchist. So the chances of them sitting down and doing a podcast with Prince Harry, I would say, in the words of Muhammad Ali, he has two chances, slim and nil. But it wasn't just them. It was the Pope too. He wanted
the Pope
involved. Did you know that?
No. So this is great. So, Michael, you're telling me that Harry has walked into a meeting with some Spotify executives and they've gone, right, Harry, ideas for the podcast. And he's gone, bring me Putes, bring me Trump, and bring me the Pope. And I want to talk to them about their early childhood on what's gone on. Is this guy has he lost it?
You and your researchers and your producers, excellent people, they know how hard it is to book somebody of that sort of stature. I mean, also on the wish list was Mr. Mark Zuckerberg. Well, I suppose he might have a better chance with him, but perhaps they think because of their royal status that they command whoever they want in the world to take part in these exercises, which, after all, what they are is money-making stratagems to maintain their lifestyle on top of their hilltop fortress in Montecito.
I just think it shows what self-entitled arrogance Prince Harry thinks he's got, that Vladimir Putin would leave his bunker and open up about his upbringing with a mother he's never spoken about. I just find it hilarious that Harry would think he's on the intellectual wavelength as some of these people.
He also wanted to do a podcast on fatherhood. Like, are you kidding? All right. A big thank you to the body language guy for these photos. I don't know how you make these, photos that show Harry sitting with these people. But anyway, I just think it's literally hilarious. No wonder the Spotify exec said that he wished he could talk about, how the Zooms went. Could you imagine? I mean, this is the kind of stuff he was pitching. And apparently the Spotify execs didn't take kindly to it. Would you? I wouldn't. Oh, my God. All right. Moving on. All right. A blind item came out, you guys, that basically said there will be no more joint deals between Harry and Meghan. She's only looking for deals for herself. We knew that. All right. Next up, they're saying that the two of them cannot afford another dull deal, that the path is narrowing for them, and that they're constantly being criticized all the time. And the only way back is to see a rise in their popularity. And the only way that's going to happen is if they return to doing things like charitable causes. All right. So, they're saying that they did produce a Hollywood flop, which is themselves, which I completely agree with. We all know what's really happening here, you guys. They're arrogant, selfish, and narcissistic. And I can guarantee you, as I am one, Americans have had enough of them. We've had enough. They're living in their fabulous mansion 2 miles away as people on the street. You don't see them out there doing anything for them. All right, let's slide into the end here. All right, we're going to look at this last article for today. Apparently, Harry and Meghan said something during the Oprah show. I'm not going to call it an interview because it wasn't. You guys remember where he said that, signing up with Spotify was never part of the plan, that the deals were suggested by somebody else because my family cut me off financially and I had to afford security, where he forgot to mention that his mother left him $22 million. Well, that comment apparently didn't land well with the Spotify execs because it's a lot of work. It's serious work and it's planning. You can't just turn up and say, oh, what are we going to do today? Which apparently is what Harry and Meghan did, which is why the podcasting has now come to an end. Boom. All right, you guys, you know what I want. Put those comments down and make them good. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell. If you've already hit the button, double check, make sure you are still subscribed. In the description box, you'll find the links to my Twitter, my Getter, my Rumble, my email, and a physical address just in case there's something you want to send me. For those of you who've donated to my coffee funder through the thanks button, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.